Well, hey friends, welcome back to Ted Talks Guitars and Life. Which one of these guitars that cost under $100 is the best? Well, let's find out. Welcome back, friends, to Ted Talks Guitars and Life. Hey, I had a great viewer suggestion in the comments of one of my past videos that I do a little shootout, if you will, between the last two budget guitars that I've been working on. And so we have, for your viewing pleasure today, the best kind of shootout that I can do. So this is Ted Talks Guitars and Life. So I'm going to talk through the guitars first, and then I'm going to do some playing. I've actually got playing samples from other videos, so I may go back and pull those, or I may shoot some fresh vids in a moment of just playing some similar riffs. Look guys, I'm not so high tech to do the dual screen and all the super fancy editing and all that, but if you hang out on the channel, you already know that. Hey, by the way, if you like this kind of content, feel free to like the video, man, hit subscribe, come hang out with us some more on the channel. So the two guitars that you are looking at in the shot, on the left, you have the Demusea DLT30 Telecaster in a Blueburst. On the right, you have the FTL20, obviously pink Telecaster. Both of these guitars are under $100 today on Amazon, or at least the last time I looked. I know that prices can vary, so on and so forth. The guitar on the left, the Blueburst, is a Demusea Telecaster that I purchased for $79. Now, I've got a whole playlist about the guitar and its journeys, how it got to the condition that it's in today, so I'm going to do my best not to rehash all of that and let you just go to the playlist and see everything I've done to the guitars, although I might mention a thing or two along the way. So the Blueburst was $79 on Amazon. The pink guitar is a Fojill Telecaster. I've actually had two different Fojill Telecasters. I've had this one, the FTL20, and I had the FTL60, which is a relic model Telecaster. Now, let me just kind of walk through some basic highlights of these guitars. Both of these guitars weigh in at a massive 6.4 pounds. So both of these guitars are very light. They are both described as Phoenix wood. So if you Google that, what you're going to find is not a lot of description about what Phoenix wood is, but it's a lot like Paulownia wood. It's from kind of the same species of tree, if you will. So anyway, both of the bodies of these guitars were comparable in weight. I'm going to try to save my impressions and comparison to the end. So both of these guitars weighed in at 6.4 pounds. Both of these guitars had 22 frets. Now on the Blueburst, if you're watching the channel, you know that that is not the neck that comes with the guitar, okay? So I broke that neck straight up. I bear full responsibility for that. If you want a good laugh at my expense, check out the playlist for the Demusea project. So as I speak about the guitar, I'm going to speak about it as the original neck, if that's okay. So both of the necks originally were 22 frets. Both of the necks, no matter what they were advertised as, had plastic nuts. Now, the pink guitar neck I found to be a better feeling, looking, sounding rosewood than the one that came on the Blueburst. And again, that I just kind of got into comparison mode. I just apparently can't help myself. In the original configuration, both of these guitars came with the basic standard string trees, just sort of the bent metal that covered, that went over the first 4 strings of the guitar on the treble side. Both of these guitars are the standard 25 point something scale length. Both of these guitars are 1 3/4 inch thick. Both of these guitars had unfinished necks. So as I got to working on the guitars and just handling them, a couple of things just to point out. So one thing was on the pink guitar, and again, guys, gals, I have full project list videos. Just look in the description and you can see me take these guitars apart and show everything that's under the hood in the original configuration. Both of these guitars, that said, are bore out for a humbucker in the neck position if you're into that kind of thing. Now, on the pink guitar, although I put full-size 250K pots in both of these guitars. Okay, those are Fleor model pots. They're full size, they're 250K. Both of these models have a 47 orange drop capacitor in them, and both of these guitars that you're looking at have a Switchcraft-like wafer switch. Now, I did on the pink one, there was something about the way the control panel, the depth of that was not quite deep enough for the wafer. So I got my trusty Dremel out, and I had to Dremel a little bit to make a slot for where the wafer would not be touching the body of the guitar, okay? On the blue guitar, by contrast, much more room in the control panel cavity. I didn't have to Dremel anything to get the wafer to fit in. I didn't have to Dremel either one to get the full-size pots in. So that was all good. But in terms of just working on the guitar, I found working on the Blueburst more enjoyable because I just had more room in the cavity. The pink guitar, I had to create a little bit of room for the wafer, as I mentioned, and it just was a bit smaller. And I know, guys, I could get the rulers out and do all the measurements, but I'm just talking through it. And if you want to see the cavity and really look into some things, you can look at the playlist. Both of these guitars came with your standard one prong output jack. That means there's one point of connectivity when the guitar cord goes into the jack. Now, I opted on the pink guitar to retain that jack because the pink guitar is for my 9 pushing 10-year-old granddaughter, thus the pink, and I wanted her to be able to insert and eject the guitar cord more easily. The Blueburst is for my 15-year-old grandson, and it has, I put a pure tone output jack in that. The pure tone output jack, by comparison to the import model or the standard, one prong output jack, has 3 different points of connectivity to the guitar cord when it's inserted into the jack. But when it's in there, dude, it's in there. It ain't dropping out, number one. And number two, when you go to take it out, it's a pretty good pull on it. Okay, so I didn't want my 9-year-old granddaughter to feel like, she couldn't get the guitar cord out. So I left the import in on the pink one. On the Blueburst, I installed the pure tone output jack, super snug, in and out, great connectivity, all of that, because my 15-year-old's grandson plays football. He's a beast. He can yank a guitar cord out. Okay. All right. On the bridge plate, both of these guitars at $79 for the Blueburst, $89 for the Fojill, the pink one. Both of these ashtrays are pretty solid ashtrays. The bridge plate is what I mean. If you're not familiar with with Telecaster terminology. This bridge plate is called an ashtray because, well, it looks like an ashtray. Now, if you're young, you're asking, what's an ashtray? You don't need an ashtray if you're vaping, right? So yeah, there you go. But both of these bridge plates, the ashtrays, feel pretty thick. I mean, they're not flimsy at all. They seem to be fairly quality bridge plates. Both of these guitars at $79 and $89 are top loaded. Okay, now you can read all the debates on the tubes and elsewhere about the tonal difference between string through the body and top loader. In my assessment, there is no tonal difference between a top loader or a string through body. By way of stability, string through body might provide a little bit more stability. But these are both top loader models. Both of these guitars had super short, and when I say super short, I mean like 1/2 inch bridge plate screws, both of them. Okay, that must be something common. I don't know all the reasons why. Factories do that kind of thing. Manufacturers do that kind of thing. So I installed 1 inch bridge plate screws in both of these guitars. Okay, I thought that would be more stable, and I just didn't. Yeah, I just wanted more stability. Now on the Blueburst, I put the Gotoh brass compensated saddles. On the pink guitar, I left the original kind of chrome saddles. They both came with these three. The original saddles for the Blueburst look just like the pink one. Kind of that chrome, but it's 3 saddles. So some of you prefer a 6 saddle bridge on your tellies. You can certainly swap those out or something if you want to do all that. But for me, I actually like the 3 saddles as long as I can get the intonation set in. And with the Gotoh brass saddles, I seldom have difficulty with that. And these saddles, let me just tell you about these chrome saddles on this $89 guitar. I haven't had a problem intonating that guitar at all. So one of the things that I always say when I talk about budget guitars, don't upgrade parts unless you determine that the part needs to be upgraded. In other words, don't just run out and buy Gotoh brass compensated saddles because the guy at TED Talks Guitars and Life says that those are better. I'm not saying those are better. I'm saying this is my player preference, okay? So I set both of these guitars up to my player preference specs because I don't want to give a guitar to my grandchildren or to anyone that I wouldn't feel comfortable taking to a men's retreat and playing a gig, okay? By the way, I've got a men's retreat coming up at the end of September. I'm going to get to play in the public forum, if you will, a show, as it were, for the first time in well, a while. So, yeah, man, if you think about me and pray for me, man, that'll be a big deal for me. And it's always a blast, man. I play with some great musicians. We do a little R&B kind of gospel funk. And it's, anyway, let me talk about, we're here to talk about guitars, but don't forget, man, TED Talks Guitars and what else? And life. So that's just a big part of my life, playing with the guys at the men's retreat and in church context and that kind of thing. So anyway, all that to say, I didn't find these saddles needed to be replaced. I've got the guitar intonated. When I did one of my videos, I said, well, does a 9-year-old really need intonation? And somebody kind of, corrected me in the comments about how important intonation is. I get how important intonation is. I'm just saying, if I can intonate these saddles, there's no need to upgrade them, okay? Now, if it's my personal guitar, I'm going to put Gotoh in every time. I know that may seem silly or a little bit of a contradiction of everything I've said, but for me, I know what I dig, and that's what I dig. Okay, I mentioned that under the control plate, the electronics are the same in both guitars. They both have Fleor 250K full-size pots. They both have a 47 orange drop capacitor, player preference, and they both have the wafer 3-way switch. Both of these guitars came stock with a 3-ply pick guard, if that's important to you. And I haven't swapped out either pick guard. I think they both look okay. I put Artec big pole pickups. I buy these on Amazon for like 35 bucks. And it's just what I put in Telecasters. My Firefly is maybe in the background of the shot here. Yeah, there she is on the far left. Oh, baby, you gave me such a ride, man. Oh, my goodness, that guitar gave me fits, Jack. But she plays like a dream right now. Anyway, Artec big pole pickups, 35 bucks. Look, put whatever kind of pickup you want to put in your guitars. And if the stock pickups work for you, man, guess what, man? You do you. That's what I say. Talked about the necks a little bit, and it's really not a fair comparison right now to compare the necks that you're looking at, because both of these necks are different. However, maybe for demonstration purposes, we'll throw this bad boy in the shot just for a minute. So this is the neck that I broke, which I think I'm going to encase in glass and frame. But there was something about this rosewood. So, and I would, man, you know, I want to be kind, but this, to me, this is kind of like fake rosewood. This feels more like rosewood. Oh, super technical terms today at TED Talks, Guitars and Life. Anyway, the look of it is better. I did the same thing to both of these necks, although I didn't break this one. I cleaned them up. I used a razor blade. I did all the things that I do, F1 oil and all that. That's just the way I do it, man. Hey, you do you. Go ahead and tell me in the comments what you do to your necks. So, yeah, man, I had to level, and I had to deal some frets. I had to deal with a few sharp fret ends on both of these original necks, and I was able to level and crown and polish and all the things with both of these original necks. They both came with a plastic nut, as I've indicated. Both of the guitars came originally with your standard kind of closed back, I don't want to call them cheap, man. It's just what you get on a Telecaster, unless you get locking tuners or open gear kind of tuners. But yeah, just your basic standard import tuners. And on the pink guitar, guess what, man? These tuners work. So I haven't replaced them. I try not to replace parts if I don't need them. The electronics sort of notwithstanding, okay? Now on the Blueburst, the tuners were not as good. I did not like them. They didn't seem stable to me. And so I have I got Musiclily tuners for this one. Now again, you can go to the playlist and you can see me talk about all of these things. These Musiclily tuners were 29 bucks on Amazon. They're just straight chrome. These, in my assessment, are not as good as other Musiclily or Geiger tuners that I've used in the past. So when you tighten the locking mechanism, once you pull the string through, that locking mechanism screw has come loose on a couple of the tuners, and I don't dig that at all. Now with locking tuners, I always try not to overly lock them, because I may or may not have in the past broke a string because sometimes I don't know my own strength and I break things. Both of these guitars came with your basic metal string trees. I had rolling, I think these are Musiclily, however it is you say that. These are rolling string guides that I just had in the shop. So I just put those on both these guitars. If I didn't have those, I actually got some Fender string guides. I think you can get 2 of those for like $7 or something. You know, you're gonna have to check prices for yourself, man. So The other thing, the one other point of comparison I would say about the two guitars is that I did not have any trouble on the Fojill accessing the truss rod, adjusting the truss rod. Life was good. On the original neck of the Demusea, I did not have any trouble accessing the truss rod or adjusting it. On the replacement neck, if you watch the playlist videos, you'll hear me talk about the truss rod does fit, but man, you really gotta finagle it. That's the technical term, brothers and sisters, finagle. But it did work at the end of the day. So, in terms of just how the guitar feels in my hands, even though they weigh the same, the Fojill feels more solid to me. I can't put my finger on it. The weight is the same. The original necks were sort of the same thickness. There's just something about the something in the way she moves. There's something about the Fojill guitar that just feels more solid. They both have the standard strap buttons on them. So that's kind of a walkthrough of the comparisons. So one is $79, one is $89. Which one is better? Okay, I can't make that determination for you, but here's what I would say. I would buy a Fojill again. I would not buy a Demusea again. Even though the Demusea had a wider control plate cavity, or at least it was deeper for sure, and I felt like I had more room and I didn't have to Dremel anything in there. I like that. There's just something about the feel and the quality of that. I did not like the stock neck, and as you know, I broke it, so can't blame the neck for me breaking stuff. But that neck just was not an equivalent to what the Fojill offers. So that is an anecdotal story about two Telecasters, two budget Telecasters, and kind of my walkthrough of the differences, the comparison, what I liked, what I didn't like. They're both under $100, and if you like to buy budget guitars and tinker, maybe give Fojill a shot, or maybe, Matt, I got a bad Demusea. Actually, I got two, and I had the same neck problem. But hey, you do you, man. Wherever you are in your guitar journey, man, I hope it's a long, safe, smooth ride for you, man. Rock on with your bad selves. Here's some playing samples if you want to check that out. Well, you get the idea anyway. That was awful. But hey, talking guitars is life.